To him, we talk to him, but mostly he just talks to us. So just sit back, relax, and spin a few more minutes with Mark Davis.
Oh, Mark Davis, I bet he has a lot to say this morning about the whole John Wiley Price investigation. I mean, they were investigating him for what, like 3 years? I mean, it seems like the day was never going to come when...
Right, and the charges came down a week ago tomorrow.
Right.
I'm back. And here's the interesting thing. Hi, guys. Good to see you. And the very, very first thing you have to realize is everybody sees this at square one through the lens of their overall opinion of John Wiley Price. The people who have been annoyed by him as a race hustler for decades, they were dancing in the streets with glee. It was finally a comeuppance. His longtime defenders and the people for whom he's provided loyal service in the Dallas County Commission were crestfallen. You never want your heroes to wind up being crooks. So here's what's necessary. Since I don't know anything, you don't know anything, the investigators probably know a thing or two. This is a big-time federal investigation. The system requires that people be treated as innocent until proven guilty, and that's exactly what the system will do. But out here in the world of analysis, this looks bad. It looks very bad. The feds don't tend to waste a lot of time and a lot of money on cases that are not almost airtight. So we stand a pretty good likelihood of a conviction here. But the wheels of justice must turn. And then what I hope can happen is that everyone evaluates the justice that is done and sees it not through the lens of what they think of John Wiley Price, but through the lens of what justice should be. Sometimes our heroes go bad. Sometimes people we voted for get crooked. If this is one of those cases, there'll be a lot of coping skills ahead. If the case is not made, then it's not made. So let's just see how it goes. It's going to take a long time. We're not in the courtroom for a year, so
yeah, it's going to be a very very long time. But keep this in mind, because almost without a doubt, race gets injected into this, and keep in mind that the Attorney General of the United States, who I suspect a case of this magnitude had to personally approve the prosecution, is African American.
And it's interesting because there's one thing I mean, look what I do for a living. We've been taking calls on this ever since the arrest one morning last week. I have not gotten a lot of calls saying, hey, Mark, this is terrible. John Wiley Price is being victimized because he's a powerful black man. You know, it's the man with his boot on another brother. I have not gotten hardly any of that. I think even John Wiley Price's fans, not just African-American fans, but political allies, are saying, wow, okay, let's just sort of see how this plays out. And that says a good thing about our community.
All right, former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura wins almost $2 million in his defamation case against former SEAL sniper, the late Chris Kyle. I think a lot of us were surprised by this. Were you?
Oh, I talked to reporters up in Minnesota, and they were surprised by it. The jury took forever to try to reach a verdict on this, and maybe that was the first clue that it was not the open and shut case that a lot of people thought it was. Once again, we start with preconceived notions. To me, Chris Kyle is a hero, and Jesse Ventura is a first-class blowhard. But none of that matters to the facts of this case. Did Chris Kyle intentionally, maliciously make up a story to defame Jesse Ventura? Very hard for me to believe that. But it's also hard for me to believe that Jesse Ventura, despite my low opinion of him, would sit in a bar in 2006 at a wake for a fallen SEAL and say something like, hey, they deserve to lose a few. But in the midst of all that fog and the I don't know, and everybody's drunk anyway, so testimony's unreliable, that to me sounds like a no finding for Jesse Ventura. That it might have happened, we don't know, but the bar is just not met for delivering a couple of $1 million from Chris Kyle's estate. The jury, by a margin of 8-2, found that the bar was met. Yeah. So I'm a little baffled. I'm baffled by it, and this is why we have juries, but sometimes juries screw up.
Well, and Jesse Ventura is not the most beloved character in the state of Minnesota, so to say that just because the trial was there that he got a break is probably a little bit.
Oh no, I don't think that's true at all. However, the interesting line I've heard is there were two things in the world Jesse Ventura was never supposed to win: this case and the governor's race in the first place in 1998.
No, you're right.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark's on the radio at 6:60 a.m. The Answer, starting in 16 minutes from right now.